Dillon Danis claims he pocketed $1 million from his loss to Logan Paul on the Piers Morgan Uncensored, but walks back on his bet to pay his rival his earnings. We never shook hands. Now, the thing that you gotta understand is that one, Logan Paul is a scammer, and Dillon Danis is a scammer. So this type of behavior of not sticking with the deal that you made isn't that unique, right, in their situation. I mean, like, think about it. Do you really think that a scammer is going to be like, oh, yes, I'm totally going to give someone my money? No, which is kind of funny. So Dylan Danis has said he pocketed more than 1 mil. And let's see. Bruce agreed to hand over his entire purse if he was defeated. Danis heartily laid a finger on Paul during the fight and eventually lost via disqualification after he tried to tackle Paul in the sixth and final round. And yet Danis said on Piers Morgan Uncensored that he took home a hefty payday from the bout. Morgan reminded the jiu-jitsu star that he had agreed to forfeit all of his money from the fight if he lost, but Danis claimed that the pair never shook hands before Morgan brought out a giant fake check payable to Paul. Let's actually check this out.
You did actually say that if you lost, you would give your share of the purse. In fact, we got a clip.
We never shook hands.
Well, here we are.
We never shook
Here's
hands.
a clip.
Yeah. I bet I knock you out.
How much?
I don't care. Don't matter. I made a bet to you.
What was it?
It said if I win, I had to be the best man at your wedding.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I win,
Yeah.
I get your entire purse.
Sure.
Sure. All right. Well, that's
Sure. Yeah, so, one, he's definitely never going to give Logan Paul that money. Period. End of story. And the reality is the marketing that Dillon Danis did for this fight probably is what actually sold the fight. Because I think he got like almost like over 1 billion like impressions, billion views on X, Twitter, whatever, like just bringing the attention to this fight. So he sold this fight like crazy. I believe that he actually made this fight the highest earning pay-per-view in 2023 for a fight so far. So that's kind of crazy when you think about it. So he probably has made like Logan Paul, who knows, maybe like 15, 20, 25 million plus just from this fight, from his promotions, which is kind of funny. So Diaz had previously claimed he charges $15,000 per sponsored Instagram story and is living almost entirely off his social media stardom. I mean, that's like a good amount of money, like the 15K. So, like, let's say that you do that once per week, right? So, what? 15 times 4. So, that'd be like about 60K a month just from that if he were to do that. But he'd probably do that more often. Because I think when he was doing the promotion for the fight, he was doing this like literally every single day leading up to the fight. So, he was probably making crazy amounts of money. Now, these types of guys, especially like someone like Dillon Danis, where like he is more skilled at online trolling than his actual fighting. So that type of guy really needs to be careful with their money because yes, they can get attention online, but how long can that actually last for? The problem that I see is with like a lot of guys who are able to get attention quickly, but then it like kind of like dies off, is that they will pretty much end up spending all of their money on pretty much useless stuff and like not save any of it, not invest any of it, not really structure their life to where they don't necessarily have to work for money ever again. Because like here's the thing. With the amount of money that Dillon Danis has made just from the actual payout for this fight, plus everything related around it, because if Dillon Danis is like, if he's actually smart with like business and making money, he could have easily have made over $10 million with everything surrounding this fight. right? Because he could have just been like funneling promotions, attention, etc. to like products, to like affiliate links, whatever, to where, yeah, he might have only made 1 million from the Logan Paul fight, which is still good, but he didn't get any pay-per-view points, so that's not like a huge payday. But with all the sponsorship deals that he did leading up to this, again, it would not be that surprising if he was able to actually clear like 10 mil after everything's said and done. But you got to structure that money in a way where you just don't burn it, right? And what I see with a lot of these athletes, regardless of their ability to grab attention, is that they end up just burning through every single cent that they make, right? So if I was Danis, right, if I was Dillon Danis and I was in a situation where I made a few $1 million, let's just say like on like the safe side, let's just say after taxes and expenses and training and all that kind of stuff, let's say after everything's said and done, made like $5 million, right? Cleared $5 million after this whole fiasco. Even on top of the whole lawsuit thing, still cleared about like 5 million. If that was the case, one, I would pay off any debt that I would have in that situation. I would buy a home in cash so that I always have that like base of operations. Then I'll put money into like an emergency fund of about 6 months to a year because this guy's technically like a fighter slash social media influencer, which the income of that is like super finicky, right? Then I would start putting almost all the other money into investments that will provide me some sort of income every single month. Because one of the biggest issues, especially when it comes to fighters, is that a lot of them might be able to make a good amount of money while they're fighting, but then basically almost nothing when they're not fighting. Now, Dillon has like an extra thing where he's that influencer aspect, so he can still milk some money from that. But from also what I've seen, he likes to spend money. He really likes to go out all the time. And I got a feeling he probably burns through the amount of money that he gets, right? So like imagine you're making like 50K a month. He's probably spending like 40K a month, if not more, which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy. So you got to be very careful with these like huge payouts, right? And you got to keep in mind too, like Dillon Danis, I don't think he's fought in like I think the past 4 years or something like that, 3 years or something. So like pretty much his main source of income was basically being an internet troll, right? So imagine if you were basically having to rely on being an internet troll to bring in income. That'd be very tiresome, one, if you had to rely on that. But here's the thing. If he set up his money right, he could be an internet troll for the rest of his life without ever having to worry about anything at all. And that's the way that I would structure it. I would structure it in a way where the payout that I get, I could use it to set myself up financially so well that I would never have to be forced to do something stupid to make the money. Where I could just have fun doing whatever I wanted to make money and not really care about it, right? Because you don't want to be in a situation where you are going to be forced to do something that you don't want to do to make money. Like you never want to be in that situation. And not only that, especially since he's technically still, I think, a contracted fighter, I think, for like Bellator, you want the ability to have like a little bit more options when it comes to the opponent, right? So, for example, depending on how some of these contracts are written up for some of these fighting organizations, some people, depending on what they're making, might be more inclined to be pressured into accepting a fight that isn't really ideal for them, where like they don't really have like a higher likelihood of winning in that fight, but they're still going to potentially take that fight even though it's more risky for them because they just need the money, right? Because like some fighters only make like 15K per fight. Now, obviously, Dillon Danis has a little bit more stardom, so he could probably charge way more money than that. But you got to keep in mind, like, how long is this attention going to last? Because it might be a situation where you maybe don't get like the type of potential audience anymore that you're getting right now. I mean, his audience for sure is going to die off after this fight. Not like not like a 90% decrease, but maybe like 20% over time, maybe 30%, 40% over time. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Like I just don't like, regardless of any of the fighters, right? Like any athlete, I really don't like seeing them get a whole bunch of money and then just blowing it all, because you basically get like a lottery ticket in terms of like how much money you make, and then you just completely ruin it. And I just don't want to see anyone be in that situation where you make really good money in a short amount of time span and just ruin your life because of that. Let's see, some of these comments, people are like, let's see, so this one says, so he's a liar and a cheat as well as being a bad sport and a terrible fighter. This one says, I don't even like Logan Paul, but I'm glad this dirtbag lost. Like, see, this is the funny thing, is that both of these individuals are basically dirtbags, right? One filmed the dead body of someone who committed suicide. The other one did constant scams, like constant crypto scams, which, by the way, Logan Paul also did a whole bunch of crypto scams pretty often, and like very blatantly too. It's kind of crazy. It's like, which bad guy do you like? Or no, I should put it this way. Which bad guy do you dislike less? And that's who you root for. It's kind of funny. A deal's a deal and you don't need to shake on it. A verbal agreement is still a contract. Not that either needs the money. The thing is, a verbal agreement doesn't mean a goddamn thing, honestly. Like, it straight up does not. Yeah. But one thing to learn from this is that, like, if you're someone who ends up getting a good amount of money in a very short amount of time, which is basically this situation, structure your life in a way where you could use this money to pretty much get you into the position where you have a lot more options available to you, right? So you could use the money, like let's say that you were to win like a lottery ticket of like $1 million, right? After tax, just to keep it simple. You want to use that money to where you have like the freedom of choice as to what job do you want to work at, what do you want to do for a living, do you want to change your career, do you want to change the state that you live in, do you want to buy a nice house that you could really say like this is mine, right? Like you really got to like design your life with this money to where it just fulfills basically all the needs that you need met, but also gives you like basically opens the door to opportunities, right? And that's one of the reasons why we push getting out of debt so much, is because when people have a lot of debt to their name, it limits the options available to them, right? So like if you have so much debt that like you're constantly like worried about paying the bill on that debt, guess what? You're probably not going to be looking for another job because you're so stressed out about losing your job because you don't know if you're going to be able to make your payments if you were to lose your job. So you're always in like this constant stress mode where like, oh man, what the hell's going to happen to me, etc., etc., etc. And you're just going to be constantly in this like cycle of just like never changing what you are doing or never changing your situation because you just don't have the option to, right? You got like one option, potentially risk losing your job or not paying like your bills on time because you're just so stressed out. So that's the only thing. Try to increase the amount of options available to you. But Yeah. Hopefully, it just doesn't ruin all this money that he's made.